Karen from Jamarado, the reggae and dancehall app. This is a really exciting day for me. I'm standing in the heart of Harlesden, northwest London, one of the great meccas for reggae music. I'm also a local resident because I come from Kensal Green. Anyway, most importantly, I'm here to meet legendary Bob Andy. So this is going to be a massive experience for me to meet one of the foundation artists, one of the most prolific songwriters in the reggae community, right here, right now. I think with Bob, it's going to be all about his wisdom and his stories. So tune in, listen to what he's got to say, and download Jamarado, the reggae and dancehall app. Hi and welcome, and I'm here with Bob Andy, legendary reggae singer and songwriter. We're here actually in the heart of Harlesden. So I thought I might start with that, Bob. What did the UK mean for you in your reggae career?
First time I travelled from Jamaica was across the Atlantic, because I'd been to Florida and the Bahamas and a few places before. First time I travelled across the Atlantic was Young, Gifted and Black. So it was Marcia and myself. And Young, Gifted and Black happened. It has its history. And I stayed here for a while, went back to Jamaica with Marcia, came back for a while, sent for her when I was producing the album, time to come to produce the album Pied Piper, which was the second album after Young, Gifted and Black, which was done at the Shark Farm Studios by the Roundhouse. And I somehow had the desire to start a solo career in England.
Right, so that.
Let's say outside of Jamaica.
Right, okay.
So until Young, Gifted and Black, I didn't realize I had a good underground following here as a solo act. Because of the Studio One works, of course. There was Bamboo Music here, representing Studio One, Junior Lincoln, who manages that. And so the Studio One records were being released in England, and I didn't know that. But coming for the Young, Gifted and Black experience, I found that out. So I realized that I did not see myself as a duo singer for the rest of my life, as I had sung before that. While Samuel, let me just cover this point. Young, Gifted and Black myself became a duo after that duet. And so we recorded other songs as that. But she had her solo career going before, and I had mine going before. The coming together, or the collaboration as they call it these days, with Marcia, gave us this universal or worldwide exposure.
Yeah. I mean, just for the listeners to get some perspective, Bob, Young, Gifted and Black, was it 1970?
1970.
Yeah. I mean, why do you think that song resonated so much with the British youth?
I don't know. The most memorable thing I've taken out of that, however, we toured Europe to do the similar Top of the Pops that they had in Germany, Belgium, France. And the most significant thing I took out of that was it was only always a handful of black people who were in the audiences. So you had white folks white youngsters all over singing Young, Gifted and Black, and that just marveled me.
Yeah.
The color, the black, what didn't matter. It was the energy of the song and the times, I think. And it was just around the skinheads era. Yeah. And everybody wanted to, I want to do my own thing. I'm this young and so. The barriers were still closeted. There was a time when it wasn't closeted, when in the age of, and we still have that, apartheid. They just did it. However, when the African Americans started gaining fighting. One thing I admire about Black African Americans is that they're always fighting for a cause.
Yeah.
I think all of that, people started appreciating Muhammad Ali. He wasn't just that black man, he was everybody's fighter. Pele was everybody's footballer. Aretha Franklin was everyone's favorite female singer, and so on. So the arts, sports, and craft really brought the world at a level playing field. And the hippies had a great role to play in this. And so that might have been some of the things I'm sure that we're talking about, brought about that. Because just before Young Iftan Black was Poor Me Israelite, which a lot of people thought we were talking about the Jews. And so the song became very big in the Jewish communities. And that was one of the reasons that made it such a big seller. But a lot of Jamaican roots, sayings, beliefs, and practices are coming out of the Old Testament.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's why I've always loved the music, is the
Yeah.
spirituality
Yeah.
and the wisdom.
Well, spirituality is a little bit different from biblical history. And biblical history, like probably many other religions, are taught with a purpose. It's not just a willy-nilly thing. It's a tool to keep people in line, controlled. Because religion and politics are still the most magnetic things for the masses.
I mean, Bob, can I ask, talking about your wide range of music, because you have many tracks that are about love.
Yeah, let me just...
Yeah, sure.
So, coming to England became a wider horizon for me.
Okay.
So I would come, because we still haven't addressed that question yet about why...
that's right, the original question is good.
So, after Young Iftan Black, after Pied Piper, I stayed in England for a while. I did a recording called Green Valley with one of those big orchestras like that, the orchestra that accompanied Young Iftan Black. Because Young Iftan Black came out just as a naked single before the strings. And someone, Trojan, released it. And they started making inroads, and someone said, let's take it back and put the string section in it. Which gave it a whole different... That was probably one of the reasons why the sound of the strings and the different aspects of the orchestra appealed to so many youngsters beyond the color black, as the song suggested. So, and I started staying in England for like 6 months of the year. 1 year, I was forced to stay here 1 year. Okay. They broke into my hotel room and stolen my passport and some other things. Could have been very well be a young lady I took in a hotel room, I don't know. But I just didn't find anyone could have been in my hotel room, because you're making friends in this new country. And Trojan Records are always left out at a hotel in Bayswater, Spring Street, Hotel Edward.
In Bayswater,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, how important, because we're in Harlesden today.
So Susan is my friend of 40 years this year.
Yeah.
We met in 1979. And we've maintained this friendship since. She came to Jamaica a lot when we just met, and she learned the Jamaican experience. She's a very wide traveler. And if I should come to this country for any protracted period and didn't, it wouldn't rest well with her. And she's really a very solid friend.
Yeah.
Very solid in principles.
Do you think when you come to London now, how do you find the reggae scene now? Do you explore it a lot or perform?
All right, let me say, from my stance in Jamaican music, I never refer to reggae as Jamaican music. It's a part of Jamaican music. People are still making rocksteady songs. People are still making songs with ska influences. The thing of the day And I'd say that to say that every generation has to have its say. Doesn't mean the music of the past is dead, it's just not being emphasized today. So, the Jamaica music that is called reggae is still impacting this country, but the other genres after reggae is still impacting this country too. Because I listen to BBC One Extra and there's more as much Jamaican music played on BBC One Extra as Irie FM.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and if you go to the like Roots FM and all, they still have the Lovers Rock going.
Many things.
Yes, the less formal stations. The average man who wants to hear his reggae music 24/7 have those stations to go to. So all that is vibrant and active. However, the focus of the day is on the African rhythm, Jamaican dancehall, rap, sing-jay. That is what, more than ever in world history as I know it, corporations, even the music that they would not want their children to play or to listen to, but they support it for commerce's sake. Therefore, you're going to hear what you're going to hear. Music today depends a lot on sponsorship. Therefore, commerce influences what happens in music. And as that happens, it becomes a new art form, so to speak, but the classic art fades in the background, becomes only a background. So I can't change anything about it. So I enjoy what I hear as reggae music, but I'm also feeding myself a lot of the new age stuff.
So you've got a new track coming out.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that?
After my surgery in 2011, I went to Florida to get some second opinions, which you really should get before an operation, but as my case was different. And my good friend Willie Linder, who had done a recording, an album for With in 1999, 2000, had some tracks. And so we just went to hang out at the studios in the day, get out of the house and just eat and drink and chat and chat and chat. Who smoke herb. And Willie would say, Bob, have some new tracks. Don't play some tracks. And he played the tracks, and I liked about 4 of them. And we added some new rhythms. Now there are 2 ways, 1 or 2 ways we do music in Jamaica. I think Studio One was the first studio that actually put out a song made on dub, what we used to call dub in those days. Now a dub was, a soft wax was an acetate wax. And the dance hall, the music sound system owners would come to Coxsone on a Saturday and say, I was at a Coxsone dance last week and hear a band tune, you know. I can't get a cut of it. We went into the room where they have the master cutting, cut that track, and that's £50. The artist doesn't get any of that. And today they have specials that we make for sound system, but those days it was dubs. And you didn't get your sound name on it because whatever you're doing, you were supporting and promoting Studio One music. I don't think this was it probably was start off because Coxsone is a very clever guy. Very, very clever.
Commercially minded.
Huh?
Very commercially minded.
He probably, numbers matters to him.
Yeah.
And so, and promotion. So he's promoting his studio, his sound systems, and his artists at the same time. a lot of this I thought just evolved organically, really. Because I'm there to see it, and I know that the most valuable contributor to Coxson's music is Jackie Matu, who probably died penniless.
Yeah.
So, and all these things you see happening around you, I mean, music today, like I said, it's a sponsorship thing. And the strength of it also is that a part of it, you take the genre and gospelize it. So it's big in the church, and it's big in the open space of countries. And that's hard to beat when you have sponsorship and you have the churches singing on the same rhythm, but with gospel music, gospel lyrics, or spiritual lyrics, as some would say. Makes it hard to beat.
I mean, I was going to ask you actually, as an artist, how much of it is about promoting yourself and really learning the legal side to the industry? How important do you think that is for this? If there's some up and coming artists listening in and people who want to know about the music industry, how valuable do you think it is to educate yourself on the legal side of the business?
That's an excellent question, because I'm going through a similar process right now. So you ask a very relevant question at a very apt time. I think that up-and-coming artists don't need us to tell them that, because they said, we know who the pilgrims and the front runners are because we see the marks of the arrows in your backs. So they'll come to the chronics. Mm-hmm. It's legally well sorted out.
Yeah.
All these, so we don't have to tell them that information is available, and everybody knows that you start out with your lawyer, and a manager, and a contract. That these things didn't exist in our time. Or if we signed contracts, that someone was tricking us because we didn't have legal advice to sign a contract.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about today's generation and getting.
That's good. You feel they're better educated, and that the way's being paid for them.
And one of the unique thing about Jamaican today's artists, they're members of their family in their team. So your back is always being watched by a family member or two, and your entourage has people who Bob Marley taught them all of this. You travel as a group. You have your own little army to protect your asset and product, who the artist is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't tell them anything that they don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. What do you...
But we didn't have anyone to tell us this.
No, because you were the pioneer.
All right. That's why the guy said, every time I see the pioneer, I see the mark of the arrows in their backs.
Yeah, that's a nice analogy. Yeah. Someone has to pave the way. The Sherpa has to go to across the gullies in Mount Everest first. Yes. Yeah, that's really interesting. So, I was going to ask you as well. You've been in the music business a very long time. Mm-hmm. Were there any particular moments that stand out to you which are your fondest memories?
Surely the BBC Top of the Pops was a very enlightening and very overwhelming. For me, this very last trip to England here, I have seen so much. I'm walking around with my daughter, Susanna, and we're talking, and I just did not really, it took me 50 years to realize the impact that Young, Gifted and Black had made. Mm. And the real impact, even after Bob Marley, the real impact of Jamaican culture.
Yeah.
And not on just England, but as many cosmopolitan areas in Europe, Southern America, Central America, North America. The impact of our music is just, so some years ago in an interview like this, I told someone that Jamaica is really the cultural superpower of the world.
Absolutely, a cultural superpower.
Without unmatched by anyone.
Unmatched,
And what is the reason why an island the size of Jamaica has become world focused? That all the world sees Jamaica, not only for music, or politics, culture, sea and sun, ganja, Because of this one ganja that is spreading over the world now, we pay the price for it more than anyone else. I mean, Bunny Whalers went to prison for ganja. Toots went to prison for ganja. Many other the instrumentalists of the past were in prison for ganja. So we lead the world in all of those things.
Culturally.
Yeah, and because one of the things is because of our defiance, we keep stripping away the mask of hypocrisy. So being a Jamaican is one thing. Being a Jamaican of renown, with the understanding that you have a certain amount of responsibility to be accurate and to be as truthful as possible in disseminating information, is a stretch. I didn't know this when I was growing up. But people forced me, Jamaican people forced me into being who I am in many ways because of the respect they showed me. And you grew up thinking I'm a rebel and but I don't have to worry about anyone, or I just have to live my life. That is also true. You have to try to live your life. But when people claim you as one of them that is flying a certain flag, suddenly place I wasn't looking to be sitting here doing an interview of substance today. I thought about music. You could pop singer, make some money, nice girls, a car, big house and bank account, and you enjoy yourself to the rest of your life. What this has done for me is placed me in a situation where I have to see purpose in my life. Because if you get to a point where you're being asked the kind of questions you're asking me, and it's going to be shown all over eventually. You're not the only one who does that for me. So music is really just a part of it. For me, this whole life thing is a purposeful and an education through life. Because I'm always learning. And when you're always learning, you go through very, very uncomfortable times.
Yeah.
Because the pain of birth, of knowledge, or of anything is very painful.
Yeah, it's incredible as you sort of go forward in life. It's like you said, sometimes you know less and less, and you have to reconfigure.
Another wonderful moment for me was two events happened. One in Young Gift and Black. We were touring Northern England, and the World Cup was on. And I don't remember if it was in Huddersfield, somewhere up there though. And to see a World Cup match watching that amongst a different set of people and culture, and because I didn't realize how fanatical these people were about their football. That something that happened to me in England, and that happened to me in Amsterdam. Amsterdam, yes.
Yeah.
The same World Cup series. It brought a different, because in Jamaica we love football too. But it just brought a different kind of, the audience had the same, just the way they felt about Young Gift and Black and the music. It's the same kind of passion they took to the sports. Another interesting time was at Wembley Stadium singing with, Horace Ovey made a film after that.
Pressure.
Yes.
Pressure. Actually, do you want to talk about Pressure a bit? Because I think somehow many people don't know about Pressure, and it was the first black British film made,
Yes.
like you said, by Horace Ovey,
Yes.
set around this area.
Yes.
Harrow Road, Goldbourne Road,
Yes.
Portobello.
Yes.
And very interesting film. I mean, could you chat a little bit?
I haven't seen the film myself. I just know that we're a part of it. There's a thing with Toots and the Maytals Monkey Man.
Yeah.
All this was filmed at Wembley. I actually haven't seen the film myself, but I know of it.
It's hard to get hold of. I'm not trying to get it to you.
Yes. These things have become collectors because of the historicity of it and the fact that not a lot of it is available. I'm sure it will be in the long run when someone is ready to make a killing from it.
Yes, very interesting film.
So, and Harlesden, you asked about me being is people by a lot of Caribbean and Jamaican people. It's a great hub down the road there.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're at home. If you need Jamaican food, it's close by. Cooked, uncooked, fruits, you can keep yourself supplied with food you would get from home. So many reasons why Harlesden is comfortable for me.
Yeah. So I'm going to go a bit further back in time now. Back to, how did it start out? When did you realise that you wanted to work with music? Because you've had quite a diverse experience from singing, songwriting, working at Studio One. Could you tell us a little bit?
I grew up in Jamaica where there was only one radio station. And it wasn't electronics, it was cable. A little box this size called a Rediffusion, Reddifusion. And that cable passes your house and everyone else would have a Rediffusion. A well-polished little box with a brass mesh for the speaker. One knob, because there's no station, just to turn it off and on. And up to this day, I think Jamaica does some of the best radio programming in the world, because they use that one station. We heard American music, Haitian music, because merengue was big in my time, English music, and they play what you call rag songs throughout the week. On a Sunday, however, all of Sunday mornings you listen to religious music, gospel, Southern gospel, Jamaican gospel. Sunday evenings you listen to country and western, Jim Reeves, Skeeter Davis, etc. And with that one radio station, we got exposed to music of the world. We got to listen to Floyd Patterson fighting Ingemar Johansson by radio. We got to hear Herb Elefante singing Mama Luka Boo Boo Day. Frank Sinatra singing. We were exposed to all those, Elvis Presley and all those guys through that one radio fusion. My plus, however, is that I lived opposite. Then I didn't know that there were sound systems who were having, because I'm telling you about the 50s, who were having clashes. And four top sound in Jamaica at that time would have been Coxsone, Duke Reed, the Edward Brothers, who lived in front of me, and there are a few other sound systems that I probably wouldn't remember right now. And having this radio impact and having this sound system playing all these music on a weekend, right through the night, right through the day, calypso, merengue, jazz, name it. And so I'm absorbing without knowing that I'm absorbing, but I'm realizing that I love what I'm hearing, and hey. And they used to have these huge steel speakers, horns, that they would put it up on the highest tree in the neighborhood. And when they punch, people from all miles away would hear the music and find the dance. So I did some of that too. So I was guilty of getting out of the yard and going to follow music for miles. Come home and my mother is worried about me. We'll get really see this time of night. And you don't think you're doing something bad, because the way it makes you feel. You didn't depend on anyone to feel the way you feel, but what you're absorbing from the music. And that's a very independent feel, because music touches the emotions, but each of us deal with our emotions differently. And so this I wouldn't have been able to explain then, because I was a child, being fascinated by something in the air that I didn't realize then that music was the soundtrack of life. Yeah.
When did you write your first track?
And so in one of those running after the music wherever it was. I found myself on a road called Arnold Road and found myself in a small club and seeing my live for the first time. I'm in the company of a live. I've never told this story before actually. In the company of a live band. That happened to have been Coxon again, conducting a audition. Okay, he didn't have a studio then. The magic that was in the guy was Bonnie and Skitter, first two early recording artists. But to be standing, you're hearing this thing on the radio or on the sound system all your life, and you're standing in a place where there's electricity, all the instruments are plugged in, because prior to that, we only banjos and rhythm boxes and no band, so to speak. And I'm seeing a band of musicians for the first time around a piano, not a keyboard, a piano, and a guitar, plugged in guitar and bass, standing bass. I mean, I just lost it. It's like there's no need to hang on to a consciousness because the music just floats you. You feel it in your feet, you want to dance, you feel it in your mind, you feel it in your soul.
Yeah.
I did not know then that all that was preparing me for what I was going to do. Because I grew up very disappointed of the fact that I did not get a formal education. Because that's all, no matter how poverty-stricken your parents were, all they ever drilled in you, you have to get yourself an education. But they would say it in a very backward way. Your mother would say to you, if the lowest level of socialization was a man, you know what a handcart is? A man pushing a handcart or they make these small carts.
Yeah, I think I've seen them. Right. Yeah.
And if your mother tells you that you're going to be a handcart pusher when you grow up, it means that it's because you don't have an education. And so they would give you all these backhand ways of... But whilst I was getting that, I was not getting a chance to go to school. So the school music, my alternate was automatically finding myself along a musical path. Everywhere I went, it's hosting. And then I met my first time I was going to touch a piano myself. I didn't understand anything about it. But the fact that you could touch a box, that you could play a note, really just... I saw other people doing it before, but that was nowhere in my mind that I was somehow going to be able to expose myself to that. Associating myself with the piano, learning eventually how to understand what you're hearing, because a touch is just a sound, and then sounds become music. But how do I get the sounds from the piano without being taught? And I was sent for a little while here to learn music, but I couldn't grasp music because of my brain never expanded academically. Because by the time I got up to where I was getting academic attention, I'd already missed out on all the basic stages. First form, second form. So when I eventually got myself into a primary school, I entered a class, not by experience and graduating to it slowly, but by my age. And so I was in among children who had been through the stages and had the coordination of subjects and understanding and things. So, but I later found out. So, but all these musical experiences were becoming my education.
Yeah.
But then I did not see that as such because no one wanted their child to be a singer or a musician in those days. You're going to starve.
Changed a lot.
You're going to starve. What? Music? No, not in this house. And plus, if your parents were Christian, you couldn't sing those kind of songs in the house. Sometimes you couldn't Sometimes they would only want to listen to gospel themselves, or program without music because the rag songs, until mother and then they started having what they call these days, what's my boy's program called?
The Voice.
That is one, one from England here.
X Factor? You're talking about talent shows?
Yes.
Yeah, the X Factor's a big one here.
So they started having this talent contest at the cinemas. One piano. And the artists would come on, of course, we're mimicking American songs because we hadn't started recording yet. And John Holt was one of those guys who had been in this competition, which was mostly the winners of those competitions were people who were singing like American songs of the day, the Platters, Roy Hamilton, Sam Cooke.
Would you say that was the biggest influence at the time, the American soul singers? And
American singers, period.
yeah, you can hear it in your music as well, and it's so much of the music from the 60s, Studio One. You hear the soul.
Well, they influenced us. I know too. I tell you about that same radio station.
Yeah.
Because when we started singing, we said, how you were rated as a singer in Jamaica. If the guy sang you sounded like him. So just like Richard.
Yeah.
and we I think, however, when I decided that when something happened to my brain when I heard Sam Cooke for the first time, and I saw myself in that picture.
And you really hear it in your music. I'm glad. I really wanted you to talk about Sam Cooke and what impact he had on you.
Not just me, Sam Cooke has impact
on everyone, yeah.
Rod Stewart. And one guy said Rod Stewart wanted to be Sam Cooke. The Beatles wanted to tour with him. He's just... Bianca was just showing me one of the Sam Cooke stories of his death, his life and death.
The 2 killings of Sam Cooke.
2 killings. Mm-hmm. But there's also a third. So, but this guy has impacted because when I started hearing Sam Cooke, when I started buying records, because I started collecting records before I had a player. Yeah. I didn't even know where I was going to play on it. But I started collecting. I was just so fascinated by particular recording for me label for me was a dog listening to a speaker, his master's voice. The dog would just intend, like a boy would sit on us, and the speaker was there. I think there's an English store called that too, his master's voice, in the early days. Sam Cooke, when I started collecting recordings of Sam Cooke, I started getting pop magazines to read. I started reading about his time with the Soul Stirrers, his background, and then you started learning, most of these singers came out of the church. And you started learning, like I used to see recordings with the label, the singer's name, and then another name in brackets under the singer's name. And I'd ask someone one day, why is the singer's name, what's this name in bracket? And they said, it's the writer. I said, For the first time I knew that people weren't necessarily singing the songs that they wrote, but people wrote songs that people sing. And I think that's more than anything is that was fascinating me to become a songwriter in a very kind of same way I run my life. I understand what fame is, but it's not something I enjoy. My daughter's mother has a story about when I was going for the premiere of Children of Babylon. And everybody's walking to the main door on the red carpet with Belafonte being there, Michael Manley. And she saw me creeping around the back because I don't want to walk through to get this. My albums mostly, my photograph was always in the back. And writing, it wasn't the prominent name of the singer, but that little subtle thing. And so, so all those fascinations, and a lot of those are just coming clear to me why I behave that way because of my lack of confidence. So music became my life, literally became my life. And I must have picked up the ability to harmonize in church, because church music was very boring in Jamaica. It's not like the American thing where you da, 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 da. I mean, one note goes for. I was so bored of that I had to find an alternate way to sing. And I think that's how I discovered harmony.
Right, because harmonies are so present in your music,
Yes,
and
yes.
maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your time with the Paragons.
And so, church again. The house, I lived with a lot of different relatives in my youth, or other people's houses. And whatever church your mind goes to, you're going to have to go to. And if they don't even go to church, they're going to send you to Sunday school. It's just a way of life. And so I must have picked up my taste and desire. I mean, I saw to be entertained by good art, which I didn't understand then, was it? I remember another precious moment in my youthful life at the Baptist church in Westmoreland. There was this young miss, she was about 15. I probably was about 7 or 8. And I mean, I've never heard a poem read like that, spoken that way before. I mean, she was perfect. I said, could I ever do something like that? Mm-hmm. Wow. And she wasn't shy, which I am to this day. And she was so confident. And she was so much in charge that my admiration just flourished. And so I developed a taste for that kind of thing growing up. The house where I met the piano, played piano, tried to play piano for the first time. So these people were my foster parents now. So I had to go to the church. They went to the church. Their son chose to go to a different church from them, maybe for the same boring reason. So he was going to Anglican church, which is the Kingston Parish Church, in the middle of downtown Kingston. So I started going to Parish Church. And I ceased being those people's foster child. I kept on going to Parish Church because I was introduced to it by their son. And there I met Tyrone Garth Evans, who I dreamt about this morning.
Oh, you dreamt about him this morning?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a brief, he's dead. It was a brief encounter.
Yeah.
But his dressing, how he was attired.
Yeah.
So I met Tyrone Evans, and they was having a church outing to the beach. One of the first government funded public beaches, gunboat. And we were meeting the bus at the Ward Theatre, which is a wonderful real theatre building left to Jamaica by Governor Ward. And we stood out there waiting for the bus to come and get us to go to this. And the big song of the day was Alton and Eddie's Muriel. And I can't remember if it's Tyrone or myself. Out of the blue, just blurted out, "If I had a pair of wings." And the other one just started humming, and we just looked at each other. We discovered something about each other. Yeah. And we sung as much as we could at the outing, because everyone heard us and said, "This song no, that song."
So that's how the Paragons started.
That's how.
Incredible.
That's how we were a duo before. Before. But in those eras, in those days, Higgs and Wilson, the Blues Busters, Keith and Needed, the Charmers. So Tyrone said, "We can't match up to those guys. We're going to have to get some more bodies. Yeah. Those guys are too incredible." In the same. So the talent search had in it now people who had won these shows and had now become recording artists, the early recording artists. So we were now seeing them from just being singers in a club or on the radio to see them on stage now. And then we started having the Dionne Warwicks, Benny King, the Platters, the Drifters coming to Jamaica.
Oh, did you meet them?
Yes, I sang with some of those guys.
Yeah.
And I missed out on Sam Cooke.
Oh, it's a tragic life cut short.
Yeah, you know, I missed out on him. He came to Jamaica twice, but I missed him both times.
Oh no.
For one reason or another.
Yeah.
But I mean, name them: Duke Ellington, Sammy Davis Jr., Count Basie. All those guys came to Jamaica, so we were, and Chuck Jack, name them.
Yeah.
So that's the influence we are growing up on musically.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of apparel we love to wear. Some Jamaicans were even
was
straightening their hair as well.
I wanted to ask you, because we use the term reggae, don't we, all the time? You touched on it earlier. Really, it's Jamaican popular music because it's drawn from
It's
so many
different
influences.
Yes, and so the Paragons grew from just, there was not a group called the Paragons. We decided to bring other members in because we had also read about the Drifters. The reason why they were called the Drifters, because guys just came in, sang with the group for a while and drifted. And so that's why they've had so many different players and lead singers over the years. And so the Paragons developed that way in the early years. We started singing with people and said, he's not really, we don't really like how it fits the group. Or something else where Stamp left the group for a particular reason. Junior Menz gave the Paragon its name. He used to go to school with Little Anthony and the Imperials in the United States. He was sent to the United States as a youngster. And he knew all those doo-wop groups from his school in the Bronx. And he got into some problems and his parents sent him back to his grandmother in Jamaica. And he had a piano at home. And so he became a part of the group. And then Henry Buckley, who later became the head of the police band, came into the group. That was the Binders then. And then after he left, we were rehearsing once at Evans's house because he had a piano. And someone passed by and said, "You don't have a group?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I have a friend who can sing, you know." And he told us who the friend was and how to find him. And we went looking for him. And he wasn't there. But his mother was so pleased that she said, "Oh, nice bunch of guys come to look to John for the first time." He came up to the house and he was an instant fit. And those boys loved him because he had that Drifters, Benny King kind of sound.
Yeah.
So, instantly.
I was going to ask you, in the 70s, how do you think your music changed lyrically? What was going on with
my personal music or Jamaican
music? Well, both really.
Well,
how did you move with that? How did you get impacted and how did it change?
Well, up to then I wanted to be Sam Cooke or another American singer, you know. So I was writing love songs, what they call love songs, along that line. Marcy got them to sing afterward because just about then I discovered Bob Dylan.
One of my favourite artists also. Lyrically,
Well, Bob Dylan pointed out to me in his music that you can sing about anything. So I came out of the bedroom instantly and started dealing with the social situations. And to this moment, I just have this attitude towards politics. I think when I was a child, growing up in the country, I couldn't understand why the politicians would come around only once in a while. But for the fervor that they amassed, it was nothing like the church. I couldn't understand. I didn't understand what it was. I just know people were talking about Bustamante, Labour Party, PNP, Norman Manley. And we never saw these guys, we only heard them, but I found out earlier that these guys were representing those guys. I didn't really understand what party politics or that kind of thing was. And so I was fascinated at the fact of that. Got forward to Kingston again, later years, and started seeing the amount of influence a politician had on people. Then I started seeing, understanding, oh, so there's a thing called politics and there's a thing called House of Representatives. What do these guys do in it? Oh, these guys talk about our business and I really only started understanding politics fully when Michael Manley came to power. Because his politics was very enlightening. Because we started learning about the world and we started learning that, oh, well, me, I thought you just flicked a light, a switch and you got light. I didn't relate it anyway to Saudi Arabia or to anywhere, because I didn't relate electricity to oil or natural gas or anything like that. Michael Manley time. I mean, I'm sure if you were a high school student, you would have learned all about those things. I mean, in civics and history and the rest of it. And getting the Bob Dylan exposure now, I could frame stories because I was naturally a defiant person. And I still have a very strong streak of justice in me. I go with that. I hate what I come to know as injustice. And then I started relating those things to politicians. I said, oh, those guys were the law. You know? And so when I started writing about those songs, now I drew on those observations and experiences. And being one of the underclass, so I began learning about us and them. And I'm still doing.
Yeah.
And started writing the songs that address those situations, you know. Then I started understanding, oh, I'm really, although I grew with at a point in time, I was telling my daughter that I was having discussions with my great-grandfather, who was born in 1865. And telling me about slavery, a lot of things I don't remember. But so when I said, but slavery impacted my personal family too. I didn't realize that. And then my great-grandfather must have been some Irish extract or Scottish because he was very fair.
Yeah.
And had kind of, you know.
So there's a new consciousness really in the 70s.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that came into your music. What about
and
Rastafari?
Because Rastafari now was always the bedrock of a certain kind of a developing, evolving link between Jamaicans and Africa. And the Rastafarians took it at another level where they say, okay, we can't deal with the Queen of England. They can't be calling us brothers and sisters and doing us the way they are doing us. And then Marcus Garvey pointed out that there was a king being crowned in Africa, and we should look towards Africa rather than to England. And so Rastafari, this is a very simplistic and short way to tell you, but this Rastafari was born.
Yeah.
And the drums were the instrument, because then they started Naya Bingi, where they drum for weeks, smoke herb, eat the best of natural foods. And so with all the music that was going on, Rasta's aspect of the culture was the African link and the drums as the first instrument. And so whatever would happen, most underclass communities had a Rastafarian camp. And so a lot of the young boys started going in the night, some coming from school, stop at the ganja camp to learn to smoke. And so when they start creating music now, they started bringing the culture up forward. And Count Ozzy, the great drummer, was quite popular, influential, but very humble. And so the Rastafari movement that was ebbing along just started coming into making inroads into the political and cultural and religious aspect of our society.
Okay, I was going to ask you, Bob, because we're going to have to wrap up fairly soon.
Yeah.
You've got an album out on vinyl, is it The Love in I? Could you tell us about that?
Lots of Love and I just wanted to finish with the present song.
Yeah.
So after did I finish that when I said after my operation, And so Love Is Sure, the first song from that batch of songs that this one has come from, was the first song I sung and wrote after my operation. And so it was a tremendous love that I received from the Jamaican people during my hospitalization and after that inspired the lyrics of that song. Have you ever heard it?
Incredible. I haven't heard that
I'm
one
sure
yet.
you should just
I'm going to.
YouTube it or whatever.
I will do,
Love Is
yeah,
Sure, yes.
absolutely.
And then we released another one from that called Can't Separate Me From My Baby. And since I got here, it was just before Bianca and I left Jamaica, we asked Willie for this track because I always had a feeling about the track. But someone said it sounded like a young child. I said, well, that young, it's a young man dating. I said, well,
I'd see it as dating side. Yeah, I'd see it as that as well.
Yeah, so well, all right, and so they're still that in me.
Yeah.
But so sometimes you don't really write a song because it is a personal experience. I compose.
Yeah.
So I can pick things out of the ether. And the melody that I had in mind, that was what spontaneously came from the song.
So I'm wrapping up, but what have we got to look forward to?
Lots of Love and I was an album I did for High Note, Sky Note.
Yeah.
Incidentally, the office for them was just right at the corner of Rockledge.
Oh, was it Rockledge Avenue in Halston?
Chips Richard, yes.
Because did Skynet, did they do a lot of sort of what we call, I don't want to call it as world music, but sort of music from all over Africa as well? Do they have on there, or was it mainly reggae?
Mainly reggae.
It was mainly reggae,
yes,
yeah.
But that was one of the big studios, Treasure Isle Studios. Okay. There was Coxon Studio One, and so was Treasure Isle. Yeah. When I left the Paragons, I went to Coxon, and the other three went to Treasure Isle. Okay. Alton Ellis was at Treasure Isle. And when Mrs. Pottinger took over Treasure Isle, or Sky Note, High Note, I recorded this album there. Okay. And it went through the chords, and it do a lot of finally settled where I'm able to put the album out. And so the album is now released. And that's how Lots of Love and I.
And are we going to be expecting any appearances from you over the next year or two?
Okay, so I don't...
The people are waiting. I can feel it. People want to see you.
I can tell you the truth, though, how I feel about it. I have some songs in the vault right now that I wouldn't want to come out, be singing the songs of 50 years ago, only.
Yeah.
And so since the works that we are now releasing have been sat on for like 20 years, of albums waiting to be released from those songs. And I'm not throwing them away. Because one, they're investment, and two, songs of mine that have become popular have lasted the years. Okay. They're still relevant today.
To Experience,
yes,
that Barrington Levy covered. When I was in Antigua, my daughter, she's the third generation down from the Windrush, really, she heard it, she's like, oh, that's my favourite song. And of course, you wrote it. Yes. Yeah. So the impact goes on, and yeah, it's just incredible. Which other of your tracks?
I used to take records out for Studio One.
Yeah.
And when I was coming back from his record carrying one morning on the bus, and I'd hurry back to the studio because the bands or musicians come in at 10 o'clock, and they record from then till evening. And Jackie Mitu was always the arranger. And I got the idea for this song. And because I had certain clout at the studio, I could go to them and say, well, before they end it, I said, listen, I have a song here I want you to interpret for me. And I'd sing it. And Jackie Mitu would say, okay, we need... Jackie Mitu is a genius. I'm hurt because I was in Canada when he died and gave his eulogy. I mean, I just took the minister off the stage. He was just talking crap about who Jackie Mitu was. And I said, you don't know Jackie Mitu. And I just took it over. And so I had the song recorded. But I had Delroy Wilson in mind when I was writing the song. And he didn't turn up to record the song, so I said, okay, let me sing it myself. Yeah. That is it. To Experience.
And it became a big hit.
Yeah. And it probably still has some more hits in it.
My final question, Bob, is if there's one track of yours that you'd want the world to hear again and again over, which one would you pick?
Friends.
Friends, okay.
Yes, Friends.
And why is that?
You know the song?
That's one I haven't heard.
Listen to it.
Oh well, I will now. Absolutely.
Because
You've got so many tracks.
what that particular
It's a lot to explore.
song says it how I'd like the world to hear it. And many of my songs have a similar sentiment, but that one encapsulates all of them as far as
I
I'm
love
concerned.
Life and You Don't Know.
Yes.
Yeah, just
And
incredible.
those were recorded here.
In the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a massive
You don't know. People don't even know it in Jamaica unless they're really fans.
Oh, it's one of my favourites.
It's the two songs I must sing when I come to this country.
Oh, it's one of them, is it as well?
Life and You Don't Know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, because they're mine.
Yeah.
Favourite, even, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I could have, to be honest, we need to make a documentary.
True.
There's so much,
So,
so much history. There's decades and decades.
Yes.
Knowledge, but thank you so much.
We haven't even scratched the heap.
We haven't, no.
But I appreciate. I appreciate this.
I appreciate it.
And what are you going to do with it?
We
We would be friends.